Great. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my podcast, Rethinking Client Education in Cybersecurity. I'm Greg Rabine, and I help cybersecurity solution providers scale using AI-powered systems so they can grow revenue predictably. And it's a pleasure to introduce today's guest, Ansel Vox Gibson, founder and CEO of CyRoot. So today, we'll start with Vox sharing her background and sharing her journey to the founder of CyRoot. And then we'll explore trends Vox is seeing in the industry around human-related security risk and innovative approaches to client education. And then we'll talk about opportunities and challenges. How does an organization align their AI ambitions with the reality of governance, compliance, and risk management? And then we'll wrap it up with Vox's thoughts on where things are headed, her vision for the future of educating employees about cybersecurity best practices and human-related security risk. So, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Vox. Hi, Vox.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm very excited to talk to you. I am very impressed with your background and your journey to being the founder of CyRoot. I would love to learn a little bit more about that.
I appreciate that very much. CyRoot started about 3 years ago here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're an IT and cybersecurity company, mostly focusing on technology refresh and streamlining processes in the IT ecosystem. We worked with federal government, state, school districts, and private industry. But just recently, this year in January, we launched an education program through CyRoot Academy. That is the nonprofit arm of CyRoot. So we're a 501c nonprofit organization here. And the reason we did that, Greg, because through my journey in IT and cybersecurity, I've noticed a gap in the skills in the market. We continued to use offshore skills because we don't have enough talent here to do the work. And I was told because education is so expensive, certifications are expensive. Also, I've been teaching in multiple universities here in Las Vegas and California and Colorado. And I noticed a lot of my students can't get student loans, can't get co-signers, they can't get funding for upskilling programs, certifications such as CompTIA, Cisco, and other certs like project management. So I'm one of those people, if I don't like something, I'm going to try to change it. Right? I don't sit around and complain about it for too long. And that's what I did. And it was the biggest project I worked on in my life to start this nonprofit. And my goal was to support anyone who truly needed an opportunity, whether you're an active duty member, whether you're an active duty military spouse that keeps traveling every couple of years, if you are a transitioning veteran, if you're a person with disabilities, if you are a single mom that really just needs a break and wants to get into IT and cybersecurity but don't have the funding. These are the kind of people I want to serve. I want to provide scholarships for them to thrive in our industry. And I've done that through funding through CyRoot, because CyRoot is for profit. So I was able to start CyRoot Academy, that is nonprofit, through scholarships and grant opportunities, and our industry partners. So people in the community that helped fund this program. Also, those who don't fall within our mission statement, if you're not military spouse, someone looking for that financial assistance, we still want to provide you affordable education. And we did that by doing market research on how much it costs to provide live instructor-led education. And we took the average price and sliced it by half. So if a course was $4,000, we would offer it for two. If a course would cost $1,000, we would do it for $500 or cheaper. This way, we are the most competitive in the education market right now for cybersecurity, IT management, for technical certifications, whether it's CompTIA, Google, Cisco, or other certifications. We are the most competitive in the market for instructor-led courses.
Wow, that's really terrific. Well, as you know, there is a considerable shortage, the talent gap, skills shortage around cybersecurity, and education is critical. And I mean, what's interesting is when you talk to CIOs, and they certainly completely understand that they need to develop talent. Their biggest challenge, though, is they invest the time and the energy and the money in educating, and then the employee leaves for maybe one of their competitors or another company at a substantial increase in pay.
Well, I'd rather have a talented team that is being challenged, that's growing, that's learning, and they leave me that way, than having people that are doing the same mundane task and they stay with me, right? So I'd rather do the latter. So people should always be working on themselves personally and professionally. And if they leave because there are better opportunities in the market, you still did good for them, right? You still help them build a better career, better future, get better jobs, do better for their families, get better opportunities because of the upskilling. So I don't worry about people leaving. I worry about people staying and not doing a good job.
Good point. So, I mean, I get, let me make sure I understand. So the education services, do you offer this to, people, out on this, lay people, to general public, I guess, B2C, if is that correct?
And could take our courses. It's just the differentiator for us is we offer scholarships for those who are looking for financial help to upskill for those certification programs, because that nearly does not exist in the market. If you want to get a certification in network engineering, for example, you have to pay for that. That costs thousands of dollars. The CCNA, for example, that is a very popular certification through Cisco. It costs close to $10,000, 3 different parts. It's very expensive. And you can't get student loan for that. You can't get any scholarship or funding or help for that. So I wanted to change that for people who need a certification like that to get their next level job.
Okay. So I guess, do enterprises that have, teams of cybersecurity people, engineers, and, do they use your services?
Funny you asked. Just last week, we signed a contract with Nevada State University, and we are working with them on workforce development for the public sector. So we are establishing an apprenticeship program that is going to help the apprentice applicants, place them in the job market, and help them grow and learn at the same time. So while they upskill by taking our training program, which is 20% of their time, they're actually getting hands-on experience in an environment that is a real environment. It's not a student environment. It would be at a company or at a school district or at a government. So this is an opportunity for us to continue to expand our market and work with other companies to help upskill their current workforce.
Okay, excellent. So, every major framework explicitly requires cyber education awareness training as an ongoing measurable activity, not just a check mark. How does this requirement play into your go-to-market strategy?
So, as a company, as a cybersecurity company, we've offered cybersecurity training, we've offered simulated phishing attacks. So, we worked with small companies, medium sized companies on implementing that. We also offer dark web monitoring to find threat information for companies. So, that will continue to happen, right? The difference, what we're doing here is we're changing the mindset from awareness to education, because there isn't anyone out there, there isn't an employee that is not aware of cyber threat, right? But it happens every day and twice on Sunday, right? So we're aware, but we're not educated. So why would you do? And I know this from talking to young students, the frustration about using long passwords or using an MFA, multi-factor authentication, and the inconvenience of doing all of that. If you don't take the time to explain why are you asking them to go through hoops to log into their email and the impact of them not doing that on an organization and on their data privacy, then you're not producing educated consumers within your organization. You're teaching robots to click here and there, or not click here and there, or forcing them to do things. So when you talk to the younger generation or people outside of IT and just ask a simple questions, what is a multi-factor authentication and why do you have to use it? So why can you use the word password as password? Why do we require long passwords? Why do we require the combination? The majority of people are not going to know how to answer this question, right? They see it, oh, I don't know, I'm not in tech. It's an inconvenience I have to do. I guess I because I don't want to get hacked, but they don't understand the science behind this infrastructure and how complicated it's getting every single day, especially with AI, the rise of AI. It's making our environments way more vulnerable than they were just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I agree. So, so if I Googled, free cybersecurity training, I think lots of things would come up. I'm assuming. So, how do you position yourself, or do you work with ISACA, or even RSA, or Gartner, or all these big organizations that provide training and customer education, and then even free training online. How does this relate to what you're trying to do in your go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, so I've been building relationships with other companies, whether they're mid-size or large companies. We love Gartner. We love a lot of big companies. We use Cisco, where we sell Cisco product, and we also have the Cisco Academy to provide the training. Fortinet, we're also a reseller of Fortinet product, where we implemented their firewalls and SASE product and other cybersecurity technical products they own at the school district, the county, and other places. So we continue to scale through building those relationships, but we just launched in January. And a lot of people, when they talk to me and ask me these questions and look at the relationships we have and the students we've graduated so far, just 8 months in, right? That's pretty big, because CyRoot was able to bring the relationships were already established, the vendor relationships, the client relationships, to CyRoot Academy to support that growth. So we will continue to work on that. We will continue to bring more education programs. But to answer your question about free, it's something I tell people. If you can't afford a course, you can go learn on your own. YouTube is full of awesome material. You really don't need to pay me, my team, or someone else. Like, that's the truth. There isn't anything that we're teaching or anyone is teaching that's rocket science out there in IT and cybersecurity. So you could go find really cheap material. The difference is most students are not disciplined enough to actually follow through in a program. If you log into YouTube and you want to study example or a CISP certification, that's a very popular certification, their videos are like 8 hours. So think about how long it would take you to watch an 8-hour video and how do you actually plan to do that throughout the day. When you're in a structured environment, when you have a live instructor that's there to guide you, answer your questions, and that instructor is actually working in the field and is bringing real life examples of what they're teaching, how is it actually used in the market, how is it implemented in real life projects. That's the value. When you have me as your instructor and I teach IT project management and system analysis and design, I bring real projects that I worked on and I take students from A to Z. When I talk about dealing with difficult stakeholders, I bring real examples of difficult stakeholders that gave me a hard time on my project. And I tell my students how I dealt with them and how was I able to solve the problem in real life. These are the kind of lessons that you're not going to get through free platforms. Free platform is going to teach you how to pass an exam, how to pass a certification. And Greg, there's so many people with certifications that can't reset a computer. So, there are people that are really good at taking exams, but those are not the people that should be working in IT and cybersecurity, because you're good at taking exams, but you didn't learn how to actually debug a problem, how to configure a network, how to configure AI, for example. Right now, you look on LinkedIn and everyone is an AI expert. AI just came out, it just became a buzzword, and we have all these global experts in AI that came out of nowhere that have no computer science background, no IT background. So they learned prompting really well, right? And now they're AI experts. These are not the people that we want to work with, right? So our job is to truly train people how to interact with technology, how to configure, how to debug problems, how to deal with difficult stakeholders, and how to use technology to solve real human problems.
Awesome. I think it sounds really, really robust and terrific program. So is part of your vision to provide jobs for your students? So let me just try to. So in other words, I mean, you obviously have terrific experience. I'm sure you have amazing relationships across the industry, not only on the government side, but also on the enterprise side. So is your vision include having developing a placement for your graduates with, the enterprise and government both? I mean, I guess I keep thinking about the amazing relationships you have and starting that placement program in the organizations that you've worked with.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Because the knowledge you're going to have is no good if you can't actually use it somewhere. So at CyRoot Academy, since we kicked off in January, we host monthly networking events where our board members, who are pretty much all employers except the 2 active duty officers we have on the board, but everybody else is an employer. So they come to our networking events and they talk to students and our instructors. Also, this apprenticeship program we're created with Nevada State University, it's all about that. It's about placing students at IT departments where they can learn and grow while continue to upskill through certification programs. And I'm constantly looking for ideas. Our Clark County CIO, one of the most amazing leaders in Las Vegas and Clark County, his name is Bob Leake. And he's out there supporting people like us, supporting nonprofits out there, supporting the education program because he's in a position to hire people, right? So Clark County is one of our biggest employers here in Las Vegas. So they come to our events, they go to other nonprofits, they go to other education, they support the universities. They're looking to help people. They establish an internship program, not only for my students, for others as well. And I think that's so great when your biggest employer is coming around looking for students, looking to help students, looking for those interns, paid internships and opportunities, entry-level opportunities to bring people into the IT space. So these are the people I continue to work with and introduce to my students either through the networking events or relationships, formal relationships that we're building with employers. Because really that's the bottom line. You're going to learn to get those certifications to get a better job.
That's great. Does your placement include international? So in other words, I think that when I was selling enterprise solutions, I worked with the Canadian government, and I also realized that all the governments out there, from the European governments, they all follow the United States. When the United States, the Department of Defense or any of the agencies implement a cyber program, everybody wants to copy it and do what they're doing. So I replicated a solution that my company did with the Department of Defense with the Canadian Department of Defense. And I guess where I was going with this question is: are your students? Do they have international aspirations, and can they, leverage their training with you for a position with maybe the Canadian government, for example?
Absolutely. So me personally, I'm as international as anyone could get. I've lived in 5 countries, over 5 major cities. I grew up learning languages. I spoke 4 or 5 languages at a time. I served the military, worked with our coalition partners. I worked with the Italian Air Force, the Polish Air Force. I worked with the Spanish Air Force. I was personally a liaison between the U.S. Air Force and Arabic-speaking military in the Middle East. So I love that concept. I love that you worked with the Canadian government. Especially in our field, right, Greg? Because IT and cybersecurity is everywhere. You're only irrelevant if you go somewhere where they don't have internet. If they don't have computer internet, then yes, you gotta hang out in the wild. But I don't know any city out there in the world that can't use my skills. I know I could get up and move tomorrow. In fact, I did. This is why I started CyRoot in Las Vegas. Prior to that, I was an IT strategist at the Pentagon in DC. Met my husband. He wanted to move to Las Vegas for his last assignment at Nellis Air Force Base. I showed up here and I did not know who to talk to. I didn't know where to start. I come from federal background and I started an LLC. I thought, well, maybe I could get some consulting gigs. And just like that, I got contracts with Airbnb doing risk assessment. My manager was out of Ireland. My team was out of Australia. The tech people were out of Singapore. Global team that I worked with. I was the only person in my time zone, in Pacific time zone. So I had to work around the clock to make sure I'm communicating with my team. And that's not because I'm anything special. It's because the skills are transferable skills anywhere you go in the world. So I'm not teaching anything specific to Las Vegas, The relationships are specific to Las Vegas. The network is very important, the people network, because you can't really get much done if people don't like you and respect you at the same time, right? So your human network is very important, but the skills, you could go anywhere in the world and be helpful, whether you're government, military, public sector, private sector, or you just want to go somewhere and start your own company.
Understand. So part of your curriculum, and going back to, we were talking about the government and the Canadian Department of Defense, the United States Department of Defense. But anyway, what I worked on, and what I'd be very interested to hear about your curriculum, is using a simulated attacks. In other words, the terminology is called a cyber range, and it's a digital replication of the production environment. And for tabletop exercises but red team versus blue team, kind of exercises. Do you have these type of practical, I guess, courses or exercises as part of your curriculum?
Yes, absolutely. Not only we have the simulated attacks and environment, but we work with local universities here where our students can go in person to a lab environment and try things out. The community college here, the Community of Southern Nevada, CSN, where I teach also IT in IT department there, um, had an amazing lab, an amazing state of the art technology where students could go and learn what is an air gap network, right? So that is a pretty big deal. You can't really teach things virtually. You have to let people get their hands dirty. So working with these partners to expose our students to what is a server actually looks like and how to configure it, not just on a computer screen, but how do you set it up? How do you set up a network if you're going to end up in a government environment, right? So talking about, I'm sure you're familiar, SIPR and JWICs and everything else. Like, well, how do these networks actually work? Do they talk to the internet or not? How are they configured? Students need to learn these things if they're pursuing network engineering, and that is part of our curriculum. So they could go to live physical environment and try that, and also try it part of the curriculum virtually online. And I want to expand our relationships with other universities outside of Las Vegas to provide opportunities for students in other cities to do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, you mentioned network and network security. I mean, so the technology is amazing, and obviously you need to be able to leverage it. But things like full packet capture to be able to diagnose what's going on the anomalies that are happening on your network. But there's, I guess, what I'm trying to say is there's amazing tools out there. There's also amazing people out there. And now, how do they work together, and how do they work under crisis? And I think that's the point of the objective of exercises and simulated attacks and having a replication of the production environment, and real world, try to get as real world as possible. So I think that one of the most interesting statements I heard from a CISO was, and a pretty significant one out of top five Wall Street company. At 99% of the attacks, I'm not worried about. A non-technical person can handle it. It's the one or two attacks from a nation state actor, one or two attacks a year from a nation state that I'm worried about. That's my problem, and that's what I need to train people for.
Yeah, he's right, because attacks are happening every day. If you work in a large environment, they are happening every day. People only hear about the really bad ones. But if you go talk to a cybersecurity team at any government office or a large entity, you go talk to a big casino here or the county or the school or the state. I mean, our state got hacked 2 weeks ago. We still have offices that are not open. I don't know if you heard, but Nevada state shut down for a couple of weeks. Police were pulling people over where they weren't able to look up their criminal records because the system was down. Our DMV office is still closed 2 weeks in a row. People can't get their driver's license renewed. It's impacting Uber drivers because if your registration is up, you cannot drive Uber. So some people are out of work because of it. So you see an attack happening at that magnitude. And Greg, I came from Washington, D.C. I worked with the smartest people in the United States. And I tell you, here in Nevada, you would be amazed the type of skills and talent we have at the state office, in city and county. When I moved here, I thought, it's a small government compared to federal government. But the type of skills and talent we have are really amazing, and it's something to be proud of. And these are the people that are handling this massive attack. We don't have a lot of details on what happened, but it had brought a lot of people from the tech community together to support our state CIO and the governor with this initiative. So this is something we're talking about every day in IT here in Las Vegas and in Nevada about what's happening and what can we do, how can we support in the small offices. Hey, let's run those simulated attacks. Let's review our incident response plan. What if this happened here? Because it's not a matter if it's gonna happen. It's when it's gonna happen and how you're going to respond. How are you going to handle it and respond from there? So the tech community, I think it's one of the best here, but I might be biased because I work here. But the amazing people we have working in Nevada, solving everyday problems, are just really, really good. We're forming very, very good community and very good, strong teams.
Nice. So, as we wrap up here, so how does a potential student find you? So, in other words, I'm thinking about cybersecurity as a career. I'd like to position myself to be hired by Goldman Sachs. How do I find a training programs, and then how do I find you?
Yes. So you can find us on CyRootAcademy.org. Find us on LinkedIn. We're on all of the social media outlets. We focus on certification programs that are built to train, not just pass exams, right? And that's a differentiator for us. I don't encourage people who just collect certifications. So if you're coming to me, you're coming to me to learn and to train. So take a look at our offering. If you need financial assistance, then I encourage you to submit an application. If you can afford the program, which is very reasonably priced, then that's great. And we use the revenue to support other students who can't afford it. So look us up, and there are a lot more classes coming online that will be virtual. We also have in-person classes. We've taught in-person in the military bases here in Las Vegas. We taught in libraries and other small environments to the community. So we will continue working on that. But I'm also recruiting instructors. So if you're in IT or cybersecurity and you'd like an opportunity to give back, to contribute, to share your experience, it's one of the most satisfying things you could do as a professional, is to give back through education. So if you are interested in teaching for us and being part of our team, please look us up also on CyRootAcademy.org and submit an application, and I will personally review it.
Excellent. Well, Vox, it was really wonderful to speak with you this morning, and I really appreciate your perspective on cybersecurity and certainly the human factor and training practitioners. And your nonprofit sounds really like an amazing opportunity for any student that's looking to break into cybersecurity, not only in Las Vegas but nationwide or even globally. So that's a really great. I'm very very impressed, and I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you and the questions you asked. I appreciate the opportunity to tell our story and reach more people, not just here, but globally, like you said. So thank you. This means a lot to me and my team.
That's great. Thank you so much. Take care.